When someone means a lot to you in your life, whether they're a life partner or not, the people who are into love for real, not pretend, they will stay open hearted. Now, while some people need to learn about the psych education and therefore about their lens before they can move into their 1 year old and open heartedness, we are talking from a space of somebody who shares with you stories that involve being open hearted. And here's where compersion, even before moving into the lovely solo polyamory crew, was a part of my book when I was, well, a long time ago, 16. I'm 44 now, and here's where my teenage boyfriend stories, all of my lovely regular listeners know all about it. And if you're new, welcome aboard. I'm a 5D mystic. I'm a woo-woo spiritual podcast host, content creator, self-help life coach. The people who want to do emotions, not the ones who say it's laundry. For that, you got a Zen master out there. I'm also here for my lovely 5D mystics who are on a spirituality awakening journey. And whether you have a twin flame or soulmate or more than just one, we get to talk about love the real way. So, love, it always lifts you up and it doesn't bring you down. And here's where we don't use the words ghosting or love bombing or any of that verbiage in the way that I do notice out there. We have communities that give you these how to's in that way. That's not what I do here at IHP. At IHP, I share with you food for thought. And then if you want to do one-to-one mentorship, we work on that. And that's in a way for you to be yourself with the inner growth mindset and that capacity for you to continue to move towards your optimized inner world, the restored embodiment self, and integration of the brain. Okay, so when you are a person who knows what actual love is, you know the oxytocin gene hormone is on, and then you continue to learn about it through attachment and trauma, like I did in my years of studying, and I continue that. When you know what love is, this is why for my teenage boyfriend, even after he has cheated on me the entirety of our 4 years, by the fourth, he ends up with the woman of his life. And in fact, it is this thing he goes and says, I don't know if I want to be together with you anymore. And I say, okay, you have a month's time because I think after about 4 years, you'll know. Plus, we're growing up. So at that point, I was 19. And a month later, he comes back around, or I think I go looking for him. I forget. And he shares with me that he doesn't think of me when he wakes up. And that's actually very important because if there's one thing that we would always agree on about people wanting to stick together is that we wake up and think of each other. And so here's what is beautiful for me to share with you all is that in many different ways, you will always be able to get misunderstood, meaning that someone will take your stories, like people can do with me, take your tones, take every single one of those aspects that we will express in our content creatorship life, because as people, what you want to remember is that Ron Siegel, I'm going to read a couple of quotes, but this one first because it's actually a good one. He shares about mindfulness and how it helps. One of the most useful insights that I've ever gotten out of mindfulness practice was that in the final analysis, all that I am afraid of is sensations. Particularly, he says, the sensations associated with unpleasant emotions. Getting stuck in sadness, getting stuck in fear, getting stuck in anger. We have other emotions, disgust, happiness, and surprise. Okay, so we have those as well. And those basic emotions are not all. We also have what they call feelings. So long story short, attachment, trauma informed. What I wanted to share is that these emotions, sadness, fear, and anger, are not unpleasant to those of us at the IHP community or to your host, which is why when they come up, they're in the neutrality of duality. And I actually am the person, as I was going through moments, different moments of life, I believe T1 was already in the picture. And that's when I was like, why would I do this? Why would I put sadness in a box? And also, Tara Brach, she has a great mindfulness meditation to work through the limbic system. So I noticed the waves that she talks about. And that's when I said, the same way you go from left to right with these waves of emotions, you can stay in the middle too. And that is something that you can do as well. I just shared it, but there's also the psych education that I get to now share, because mindfulness, it holds the three pillars of the mind. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel. It's focused attention, awareness, and kind intention. Those three pillars of the mind support integration of your brain, not mine. Mine is already integrated. And as you do that again and again and again, you get out of a window of tolerance and into a window of welcome. And so if you say emotions, they're not unpleasant or pleasant, you're choosing. This is where it's not toxic if you put it into practice. What equanimity and feeling equanimously is like is an open heart, where again, if someone's important in your life, you're going to continue to love them open-heartedly. And that's because love is when you are in a physiological state of compassion that the oxytocin gene hormone can be releasing. So when you are in your social engagement ventral vagal state, which you can consistently be in if you are a person who owns your sense of self. So you have all those child charge parts. If there are fragmented parts, you are a person who is looking to bring home your solo self, your narrative self, your relational self, your core self, your 0-1-year-old, and you're the owner of it. So your higher self, you start to use the left, and you do bilateral integration, and the right. So you say, can I contain what is coming up in my emotional sphere? Can I alchemize it? Yes, I can, because I know that thoughts and emotions are not irrefutable facts, that they're coming up. I can notice my behavior. And like Janina Fisher says, behaviors are not to be pathologized, but to be understood. So when you meet Dr. Daniel Fox, he shares with you all about personality disorders like the borderline personality lens or the narcissist lens. And he shares with you how those people can put into practice mindful mindset exercises. He doesn't call them mindful, but mindset for sure. And he immediately gives you proactive things that you can do. You can work with people that you love. So borderline personality lens, there are those who have that. And you'll know if they have a favorite person. They'll use anger to mask emptiness. So they will have different types of ways that they interact. They can put favorite person on a pedestal and then they're crashing and burning. So that person goes from being their hero to being their worst enemy. And these are all very, very sad information to find out. And then it's very, though, reassuring to know, okay, Dr. Daniel Fox has given people who have borderline, hey, here's your lens. Now we can work with it. Oh, and by the way, get healthy, self-worth people in your life. And that's what our IHP community, we're here to build actually loving one-to-one and whole relationships, polyamory, monoamory. Okay, so Ron Siegel, nobody has an objective view. All of our views of reality are based on the accumulation of past experiences, most influenced by past hurts. And Pat Ogden, traumatized people often have trouble regulating themselves by themselves, but they also have trouble seeking others and taking in the support and regulation of others. She's PhD. She does sensory motor. So the people who lacked education of attachment trauma, they don't actually know that being able to love each other with acceptance, with respect, with the capacity to allow you to be all of you. So as Gabor Mate shares, a child in a household that's child-centric will be lovingly accepted just the way they are, not have to work for love, and be allowed to express all their basic emotions versus have suppression. And therefore, as you can see, yep, that's accurate. I have had a child-centric environment. And so for the people like us, we will love people and we will not want to see anyone get their karma. And that's exactly something that instead I've noticed, whether they are spiritual bypassers or people who are unhealed with their trauma and trust breaks towards humanity, towards gender, all of it. We have bad therapists out there who are unhealed just as much as the spiritual bypassers who are not true spirituality. You're going to meet true spirituality and good therapists when they know that you can become completely loving and that you are a life. They will talk to you in your face. They will tell you of the opportunities that you have to work with your own behaviors, the adaptive child, maladaptive child patterns, the default mode network. They will talk to you about how you can get out of dysregulation. They will inform you of the journey out of hell, because gut wrench, torn apart, and shame is hell for people. Now, the ones who are out there with Elsa's mantles, we're just going to leave that to the side. They demonize or romanticize their pathology, their behavior, and so those are completely not in the boat, but they're in another boat. We're going to leave that to the side. So when you meet those people, they will actually be harboring and desiring to see people from their past, basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I'm going to use something different because we can all speak to each other about when we get treated in certain ways, right? And therefore, that we look forward to succeeding. We all want success for where we are looking to get to in life. But what I'm trying to say is when it comes to love, I've met women and men, I have not met days personally, that actually are happy to see people that left them, people that broke up with them. They're happy to see these people suffering. That's not what happens to a person who actually loves inside their body. And I say actually because to completely be in a state of open-heartedness with love is when you are vibing in that enlightenment vibration, because you know that emotions are not pleasant or unpleasant. What I mean by that is that you have expanded your window to a window welcome to all of the emotions that can come up. And so they last those 90 seconds because you're using your prefrontal cortex. And that's where a person who's objective and can say, my thoughts and emotions are not irrefutable facts, they will not project them and cast a stone upon a person. They will also not look to people that have done, if you will, emotional. See, this is the thing. Unkindness to your host means nothing more than a person who needs a therapist. Evil means nothing more to me than a person who needs a therapist. So you ask me how I feel about when I have met Cuscos. I feel that I learned from God what I was going to do was be humble. They're my brothers and sisters, and Jesus taught me about forgiveness. So I have the capacity to say that I am always looking forward to any person that I've ever met, especially someone who is important to me, that they be happy. That's it. I do not want to see them in any way, shape, or form in any emotional or mental turmoil. No, I want them to be happy. I will be happy that they're happy. That's how it feels when you're a person who is a healthy, self-worth human being. That's because you are completely in your own mammalian heritage. We all have it. You work with emotions that come up. You work with thoughts that come up. And you are part of a human herd. True spirituality, a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. So you have kind intention, focused attention, and awareness. And when you see somebody, doesn't matter if they will have punched you in the face. Figure of speech, though, because the reality is if somebody physically in any way, shape, or forms makes me think remotely that they're going to physically be a threat to me, they're out. I can share with you, nobody in my life have I ever allowed, if they remotely make me feel like they're physically going to be a potential threat to my safety. And that's why a lot of people, they think that I'm trusting, which I'm not going to say I'm not, but I trust my gut to tell me. And in fact, when it comes to aspects of emotional immaturity, they're not a threat, because a 1-year-old or a 3-year-old that is a person who has shame and unresolved trauma is not a threat. They're a pattern. So their adaptive child behavior pattern, like their maladaptive child behavior pattern, will be something that becomes, within a year, it'll be clear. By 2 years, I'll know if you have DID. By 3, I'll be sure of it, because I'll have noticed that you have moods. And then that those moods have you switching your personality. And I have seen that. And that's because of the way the body completely perceives a person. But that's a side note. So again, when we know of love, those who are secure attachment, secure means that you feel good to be yourself. You're a somatic empath, so you consistently have presence. And that means that you're curious, open, accepting, and loving. You can learn how to be there if you want. You don't have to. You can also just tune into the stories. Your heart stays open. I can thank Jesus and God that began that journey, and I continue with Akash as a lovely 5D mystic. And what I can share about the Oversoul is that it's no tragedy, that's for sure, because emotions are not unpleasant. The people who think that we're lying are the same people who don't grow a window of welcome to their emotional plane. I'm not going to be able to do much for those bodies because they choose to say, no, no, Maria, there's a Zen master. He talks about laundry in my body. That's the laundry for you. I don't have laundry. Emotions come up, they're processed, they're let out, nothing's stuck. And that's actually what's beautiful about our love life. Nobody gets stuck anywhere. Nobody is needing to meet our expectations. A life partner will be told, I love you. I think you're the one for me. Oh, I'm not the one for you. Okay. Well, I'll learn how to get over that. So I learned how to get over the teenage boyfriend, and then I learned how to get over others. And some would say, well, then don't you think if you're single, I'm solo poly, my lovely viewers. I'm not single in the sense of there's only one person I love. So, it is what it is. I also get a lot of people who talk about the fact that I travel, and I'm like, really? So travel is a deal to you, huh? I see you know your belly body really well. Look at you. You can walk a walk and talk a talk. Oh, I'm so here's the deal. What an empowered woman, man, or they will know is that people who know sense of self, they don't rule their love life based on what they can see, because see, that's where separation is. Your eyes don't mean that you're actually here. And that's why if you forget about me the minute that we're far apart, I'm going to know that then that means I'm not the one for sure, because that's how easy your heart doesn't actually wake up in the morning and say, oh, you know what? I want to say hi. And it's not a good or bad thing. This is that aspect of we all will have different types of interests. And if somebody is not interested in you as a long term life partner, my lovely viewers, an empowered man or woman, or they will not say, love doesn't exist. All people suffer. It will be something different. Or, you know what? Maybe you have a problem. You know what? Maybe you should change something. So, anytime I'm hearing any of that, how to keep someone, please, please, please. That's where it's from yesterday. I'm going to say that chit chat for the empowered individuals of today. Our hearts stay open because we learn about our 0 1 year old. And come on over, join us for Love Life 5D relationships. We love always. We get to support people who want to heal trauma. We get to be people who are free lovers. And we get to say, you are beautiful just the way you are. And working through anything is possible. And that's because we have great therapists out there, in addition to the holistic practitioners such as me. I'm an in-between. I'm a lot of jack of trades, I think is the right word. So we'll be back with another episode in a little bit. And in the meantime, thank you for showing up. Please like, share, and subscribe if you know anybody who wants to consistently love, and the people who are looking to share more love, not the ones who are looking for quote unquote sweet revenge. Anytime somebody is still thinking about love as ubiquitous suffering, or as, this push and pull energy, I will know that they're still in a Cusco land. And it's not good or bad. It's just they're not here where I'm coming from with you all. And not anybody has to be, because you choose. Do I stay open hearted when I have had a broken heart? And that is a conscious choice you'll make. Anyone I've ever asked, they know that they've chosen to close it. And I said, I chose to stay open. Why would I close my heart off to love? That doesn't make any sense. To close it off from people who don't know, by the way, how to love. I'm going to miss out on love because of the ones who have a broken heart, who don't go to the good therapists, who don't go to get their shit taken care of, who want to tell me about humans being evil. No, no, no. I'm going to wait. And that's when you meet empowered men and women, you know that love. There's plenty of us out there. And then you also know why some of us end up expanding. And see, this is the part I was telling a friend of mine that. And while there are human beings and they're in the relationship soul age group, so please remember, I'm in the enlightenment soul age group. And so the relationship and societal soul age group, they learn about their self through their interactions. So when someone thinks that it's a bad thing to be single, I laugh inside because I'm so used to it, because I have my twin flames, my polyamory. So there's a buttload of people that they just keep on wondering about where the trauma is being hidden. It's kind of like when I sometimes will eat a lot. Where are you hiding it? I'm not hiding it. I'm using it. Okay. And that's something that is a side note. But we'll be back with more. Again, sharing the love. Thank you for stopping by.